First to England, who will play their final warm-up game before Euro 2024 this evening. Let's head to Wembley. Join our senior reporter, Rob Dorsett, live right now. Rob, very good afternoon to you. Really getting the feeling now, aren't we? We're building up to this tournament. The countdown really is on now. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of focus on the starting 11 that Gareth Southgate goes with against Iceland and how much it might resemble the one that starts that opening group game against Serbia on June the 16th.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, the opening game for England is just 9 days away now, and a lot of these players in this England squad haven't played a lot of football for many weeks now, since the end of the Premier League season. So I expect Gareth Southgate to go strong tonight against Iceland. I think it will much more resemble the starting 11, the sort of starting 11 he's likely to put out in that opening game against Serbia in Germany. Bear in mind that there was a lot of experimentation at St James's Park on Monday night for that other friendly game and against Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I don't think that's going to happen right now. Obviously, with Harry Maguire not part of England's plans, won't be going to the tournament. John Stones is the senior man in defence. He's the main man to anchor that defence, and I fully expect him to start tonight. And he needs the game time, in truth. He wasn't considered for that game against Bosnia on Monday night because he hadn't been training very much, even though he joined up with England early to try and get some fitness. One Premier League start since mid-March, and was rested for that game against Bosnia as he tried to get some more intensity into his training. That's now there. So I fully expect John Stones to lead the defence tonight, probably with Mark Gay alongside of him. And we saw, when we brought you live training on Sky Sports News yesterday morning, for the first time, the other Manchester United and Manchester City players who'd been given some extra time off to recover from the Cup final. They were, of course, Kyle Walker, Phil Foden, Kobbie Mainoo. How much game time they get tonight, I think, will depend on how much training they've managed to do this week. They've had a maximum of 2 or 3 training sessions. So Southgate will have to talk to the medical staff and see where they're at, having had a couple of weeks without football because of that. But as I say, with that opening game so close in the Euros, I think tonight for Southgate is all about building a squad unity, a starting 11 and understanding amongst those players. Some of the younger players that we heralded to the heights yesterday when they were named in the squad may have to bide their time a little bit. They may get some game time tonight, but I don't think it will be from the start, probably.
Got to ask you about Harry Kane, Rob. Came on and scored against Bosnia as a substitute, but do you think he'll get a start tonight?
Probably, yeah. I think he'll share the game time as England's number 9 with Ivan Toney. From Harry Kane's perspective, England are monitoring very, very closely. And look, they're not saying anything publicly, but I think there are real concerns about this back problem that Harry Kane has had, which kept him out of the final 3 games of Bayern Munich's season. He looked a little bit ginger, you had to say, when he came on against Bosnia and Herzegovina at St James's Park. Does what he always does, scored a goal, of course, but he didn't look particularly mobile or as match sharp as he would want. And so the question is, does he need to be protected right now to try and nurse that injury back to full health before the opening game, or does he need the game time in his legs to try and get back to full match sharpness? So I think that will be key. When you look at Ivan Toney, though, remember he didn't get a single minute against Bosnia and Herzegovina on Monday night. It was Ollie Watkins who was on for the start, replaced by Harry Kane. Ivan Toney will definitely get some match action tonight. And having started the final 4 Premier League games for Brentford, I think he needs a bit of boosted confidence right now because he's not scored a Premier League goal since mid-February. But he did score his first England goal, of course, in that 2-2 draw against Belgium from the penalty spot back in March. So I think Southgate will want to get him on the pitch at Wembley tonight, probably sharing maybe 45 minutes each with Harry Kane, I think. So expect to see Kane and Toney at some stage at Wembley tonight.
Now, Rob, Paul Merson has told us today that Southgate must win the tournament, given the strength of the squad. Do you think the expectations for Southgate, the levels, the expectations that the public has, have ever been higher?
That's a really good question. It's typical Merce, isn't it? You've got to love him. He's excited by this squad and he's excited by the young talent that's come in, as a lot of England fans are, I think you have to say. But I think, look, I don't want to pour a dose of reality on it, but the truth is England's Achilles heel for the last few tournaments has been defensively, and they've got some pretty major defensive concerns there. We don't know at all whether Luke Shaw's going to be fit to play any part in the tournament. Gareth Southgate hopes he can play some part in the second group game, but that depends on how he progresses from here. Harry Maguire isn't here. So look, it's tricky from an England perspective, but I don't think there's any doubt that England's midfield and attacking options are as exciting as and as prolific as we've ever seen in the Gareth Southgate era. I don't think there's any side in European football that can match England in midfield and in terms of their attacking options. Biggest challenge for Gareth Southgate is how to get all those attacking options on the pitch. And what is he thinking, Gareth Southgate, when we go into the tournament? Because of his injury concerns and slight worries defensively, does he go a little bit more defensive in midfield to protect that back four? He's certainly done that in the past. Or does he break the tradition a little bit and go a bit more gung-ho and say, look, we are really strong going forward, so let's try and score more goals than the opposition. I think that will be the key to it. The approach that England take on that first game against Serbia could tell us an awful lot. We may not learn too much about that approach in tonight's game, however.
OK, so we mentioned what former England player Paul Merson's thinking. Serbia legend Nemanja Matic, Rob, says that it's good news for his country that Jack Grealish and Marcus Rashford aren't involved. How much of a risk is it that Gareth Southgate is going with form and indeed with youth?
I don't see it as any risk at all, in truth, and maybe that's a bit of mind games there from the Serbian legend, suggesting to try and boost his own team possibly. I mean, but it is a huge call to leave the experience and the ability of James Maddison and Jack Grealish out of this England squad, but there is still so much quality in those wide attacking areas. If you look at England's first choice two wingers, it's Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka. They would probably walk into any other European team in this championships. You've then got Cole Palmer, who's probably the first choice off the bench. Look at his stats, 27 goals and 15 assists in all competitions this season. He's been absolutely on fire. If he can't get in the starting 11 for England, that tells you about the resources Southgate's got. He's then got Anthony Gordon and Jared Bowen, hard-working options, work back, win the ball back, but also real ability on the ball and can deliver brilliant, brilliant crosses. And then you've got Abera Eze, who is, I think, the X factor, that explosive talent who can come off the bench, score goals and terrorise opposition defences. 5 goals in his last 6 Premier League games, 11 goals and 6 assists all season. He's the most in form, possibly with the exception of Phil Foden, of all those wide attacking options. The biggest problem for Southgate is how to get all of that talent on the pitch, and that's always been his challenge. He's had a lot of good attacking options for the last couple of international tournaments, you have to say, and he's often criticised for not bringing enough of those attacking talents onto the pitch. How he gets all of them involved this time could be tricky, but they're absolutely there at his disposal. And I'll leave you with one thought tonight as well. Gareth Southgate will win his 95th cap as England manager tonight, if you like, the 95th game that he'll have taken charge of this England side. That draws him level with Sir Bobby Robson. So he's had an awful lot of experience now, the England manager. I think you're right in that the expectation levels of the public and the pundits has grown. He knows, Gareth Southgate, that he has to try and deliver silverware this time or take England very, very close. He knows they're amongst the favourites. He knows the Opta supercomputer has crunched all the numbers and the fixtures and decided that England are favourites and should win this tournament ahead of France and Germany. But that's all very well on paper, isn't it? The truth is he's got some injuries in the squad that he doesn't yet know about, and much will sort of pan out when we get out to Germany. But tonight is the final warm-up game, the final rehearsal for this England squad. I expect Gareth Southgate to put a very strong England starting 11 out. Be nice if we could see them off to Germany with a big win, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Momentum and all of that. Thank you very much indeed, Rob.